Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us again for this, that is the third of the customer webinars for NavTour. My name is Richard Northover again. Some of you will have met me in the previous occasions. I'm the manager of NavTour UK. And the aim of these webinars is to spread knowledge and is to make sure that everyone gains the maximum value from the products and services we have in the marketplace. So thank you all for joining, and let's hope today is a very productive webinar for everyone. I'm going to move on and show you what we have in store today for the agenda. So here it's showing we have a welcome from Børge Hetland. Next, we follow on to carry on the theme, which was Nav Station. We now move on to the module, which is passage planning. And then we move on to a new module we released this year, which is environmental regulations, still in Nav Station. What we'd love is some engagement and some questions put through to us all the way through. So please feel free at any point to send some questions through. If you look on the screen to your top right, you'll see a question tab and bar. If you have a question, please feel free to put it in that and send it as a question. You can put comments at the bottom, which is a comment bar, which will be seen by everyone. The questions will only be seen by the moderator, so they'll be collated at the end and we can talk them through. So without further ado, I'm going to move forward and pass you over to Børge Hetland for a brief message.
NavTour. My name is Børge Hetland and I'm the CCO here at NavTour. First of all, I would like to say thank you for putting your trust in NavTour. And I would say that the strong growth we have experienced since we started in 2011 had not been possible without the close cooperation we have had with many of you. You know, our aim has always been to make the life easier for the navigator on board. And over the years, we have added a lot of features and new products and services to be able to achieve that. Today, we will talk about Nav Station, which I think really is the definition of e-navigation. You know, e-navigation is about harmonization, integration, and presentations of relevant navigational data. And with NavStation, we have taken all this data and geo-reference it on top of the ENC chart. And through the Navtool ecosystem with the Navbox, we make sure that everything is automatically updated seamlessly. So every time the navigator is standing in front of the NavStation, it's updated. Today, we will talk about the passage planner, which is developed together with 12 Norwegian shipping companies and a vetting inspector. And the feedback we have got from our customers is that it really slashes the time it takes to create a passage plan. And also you can work simultaneously in the chart and in the document. So as soon as you make a change in the waypoint, the document will automatically be updated. So the time savings are enormous. And the feedback we got from customers is that after they installed NavStation and the passage planner, they have had no issues with the port state control or vetting inspector. And if you would like to have a trial version of the passage planner and NavStation, please let us know and we can set that up. We will also today hear about the environmental regulation database. This is a very comprehensive database which consists of all the international, national, and port rules and regulations. As you know, the environment is of great importance, and to be able to protect that, and also for you to avoid big fines for breaking any of those rules, this database will help you be aware of all the present rules and regulations, but all new rules and regulations being issued, because as soon as there is a new one available, we will push that automatically into your Nav Station. And this will also be according to your ship size, and ship type. So only the relevant rules and regulations for your ship will be visible in Nav Station. I would also like to show you just a little bit fun track from one of our customers. This is Norwegian Cruise Lines, as you can see on the screen now, I hope you will see this cruise vessel, Norwegian Jewel. You know, during this COVID-19 period, they have not had any passengers on board. So, but still they have to run the engines and to have the ship operating. So they have been out there in the Pacific, and I guess they have made a route plan, hopefully using Passage Planner and Nav Station, and then they have been making this funny track. So you can see the NCL, Norwegian Cruise Lines, and the wave beneath it. So we thought that was really fun that they share that with us. And we also asked them for permission to share that with you. So if you have any similar cases, or you have any funny stories or any nice pictures from life at sea, it would be fantastic if you can share them with us. So before I conclude, I would also mention that next week we will launch our new weather routing module, which we have been developing together with Weather News International in Japan. So then NavStation will be upgraded to NavStation 5.3, which now have this possibility to optimize the route based on the weather. So this is a product we also are looking forward to push out in the market. So by this, thanks again for using NavTool as your e-navigation partner and for joining this seminar. I can assure you that we will continue to listen to your wishes and try to implement those as fast as we can. So hope you will enjoy this webinar, and see you again soon. Thank you.
Hello and welcome back. The wonders of modern technology, isn't it incredible? We're a technology company, but we can't work wonders with the internet, with ISPs, and with data channels. So thank you very much, Børge, for the message. I'm going to move on now, and I'm going to talk unashamedly again about the Navtool ecosystem. And the reason I do this is I will demonstrate in a brief slide. This slide, a lot of you will have seen previously. This is the base for everything we do. This is our e-navigation concept. And I'm not going to labor on the points of what communicates with where, because that's unnecessary now. What I will say is what we've seen before is this is a shore to ship, and it is then distribution of data throughout the vessel, forward and backward between front and back of bridge, and communication back to shore, and also keeping everything up to date. But again, reverting right back to what we discussed right at the beginning, which was everyone in the office still having full availability and access to the data and to all the information real time in Nav Tracker. And I'll demonstrate some of that today and show how that all links. So today I'm going to go through, obviously we talked about Nav Station. And Nav Station, as Børge mentioned, is geo-referenced layers that live on top of the Nav Station desktop. So we start with the NCs, we overlay the Admiralty Information Overlay. We saw last time route planning being done on both the ENC and in Nav Station. I demonstrated ADP and AENP, the digital sailing directions. We discussed the e-publication reader. We didn't show the weather overlay. That will form part of a later webinar. I demonstrated Nav Area Warnings, which is geo-referenced information within the Nav Station. And today we're going to talk about environmental regulations, passage planning. Maneuvering assistant forms part of a later presentation, again with weather routing, which is optimal ship routing, with our partners, WNI. So today, the concentration is absolutely on passage planning and environmental regulations. So I'm going to take us forward now, and I'm going to show everyone Nav Station and passage planning. So I'm going to flick across to my other display now, so please bear with me 1 second. I hope what we can all see now is an ENC. So last time we discussed some settings, we discussed the ENCs themselves, we discussed the Nav Station, how it actually is the basis of Nav Station is the NavTOR, what's called Software Development Kit, so SDK, which forms the base of a lot of ECDIS in the marketplace today. So the reason we have tools within our Nav Station is because it is formed from the same software that creates the ECDIS. So I'm going to show today passage planning, and I'm going to take everyone through to a position where we were last time, which at the bottom of the screen, there's a small ship icon. If you click that, what it'll bring up is the routes I have saved. So I'm actually going to work on a route that I've been working on and now created into a passage plan. So I can click the route, and that will bring up the route on the chart now. So there we are, we have the route. If I want to make a passage plan, if I use the arrow key at the end, click that, and at the end, we have another ship icon with PP under it. I'm going to click that, and it says, would you like to create a passage plan? I'm going to say yes. Then there's a section here which asks us to either look at configuration, if we haven't done configuration of the vessel, or go straight through. I'm going to open configuration because I'm now going to show sections we didn't delve very deeply into last time. The configuration for passage planning is based upon your ship model. And your ship model is here under configuration vessel particulars. And this is where we note draft, we note air draft, we note the block coefficient, very importantly. From here, we can look at passage planning itself. So this was a section we did not look into very deeply at all last time. So if I click on passage planning, that'll take us to the values that are being used within passage planning. If you look here, you can see there are 3 types of passage we describe within passage planning: ocean, coastal, and pilotage. Each with different values inside, and each with different maximum intervals between position fixing and position fixing methods. We also have a different navigational watch level within each. This is for my demonstration. We look here, I've set as the default passage type, which will be taken through to passage planning, a coastal passage with a security level of 1. And I want a waypoint numbering system in mine, a waypoint 1. You can, of course, use a numbering or naming convention in here. So from this section here, I can now take us through to actual passage planning. And the document opens as a formatted template document. So this is taking the waypoints that we discussed within the route and moving directly all of that information harvested into a passage plan. I know, because I've done the route, that we're going from Canvey Island. So here I type the first 2 letters into the departure, and it brings up from my ports database, Canvey Island. When I click that, it brings the information I hold from Canvey Island into my port information. I'm going to put the draft expected at when we're exiting. I'm going to put 7 meters on my vessel. And the arrival port is actually an anchorage in Fedge. Again, that fills in the data within the port arrival information. And we're going to have the same draft here for arrival as well. So that's basic information. I'm also, because this is a passage plan, it's taken today's date. I'm actually setting forward to a different time of departure. I'm going to choose 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday as our departure time and date. What you will note from this is it's dynamic. The sailing time is obviously affected by the speed and the distance, which will calculate the arrival time as well. Already, the departure port and arrival port standard ports will be brought through from Admiralty Total Tide, and the salient information for high and low waters will be also populated throughout the document. You'll see here that at the bottom of the passage plan, front page, it talks about the information used within passage planning, where it's been harvested from, and also how up to date that information is in my system. At the bottom of the page, we show here that it is actually a signature document, and the reason for this is it forms a mandatory document. We can actually use this to be transported around the company. This can form part of your company procedures. And we do find most of our customers would use this document to come ashore for verification, for checking, stay on board. It becomes that master document that everyone uses. What I'm going to show you here is with the waypoints, we're actually going to look back in the passage plan to page 2, which lists waypoint by waypoint with a waypoint name and position, and all the other information you'd expect to see: course and distance to next waypoint, the leg speed expected, and what type of passage it is. You'll see here there's a depth that has been pulled from the chart automatically through Admiralty Total Tide. We have an initial under keel clearance section here, which is detailed through our company procedures. So an initial clearance will be based upon broad brush parameters. We use the green and red, the go, no-go symbols. So red one here says we're concerned about the initial under keel clearance, and we will have to do a full under keel clearance. So I can go back to the waypoint. This is waypoint number 2. I can go back into my waypoints and look at number 2 and actually edit this. Under passage planning in waypoint 2, I can look at an under keel clearance calculation, and we can run the full calculation here. So again, it's taking the depth that we've been given from Admiralty Total Tide, and it's now putting the configuration we've put into the under keel clearance. We're putting the CATSOG, so the category zone of confidence of the data. It's A1 in this point, which is very good. What it's telling us now is the squat calculation is going to give us the figures on what's happening to the vessel in a dynamic way. And it's now going to change through from a no, because we have the full parameters. It's going to give us a yes. It's going to say the minimum under keel for our company procedures is 0.5 meter. Well, this is saying we've actually got 6.3 meters once we've done a full under keel. If we revert from here back to the passage plan, you'll now see that dynamically the document has been updated with a full under keel clearance value, which can be done for all of those showing red. But in this case, it's gone from red to green because you've done a full under keel clearance. The next topics are the security level. And this security level is based on the fact that I have said this is pilotage. Once we change from pilotage to coastal, you can see that the nav watch level changes, and it changes the number of people we have on board and in the bridge looking out. So pilotage, I've set effectively everyone is up and looking around and being involved, whereas ocean voyage, it's less people, it's an officer of the watch. So from here, we also have the figure shown, which is the maximum intervals between position fixing. And the point I've made here is that I've put a closer time scale between position fixes for a passage planning, a pilotage, than if we go offshore. If you look down, we'll get to coastal, it goes to a wider position fix. And when we get to ocean, it's even wider. So that's page number 2. I'm going to fill in my voyage number, which will be populated throughout the document. If I go back to the front page, that will now be documented right the way through. So everything that happens in this document is dynamic, as Børge was saying. I'm going to put my air draft in, and arrival and departure air draft, and that will now be populated and be functional right the way throughout the document. If we go to page number 3, this again shows waypoint by waypoint with the position of each waypoint, and it also talks about position fixing and how you're looking for the waypoint. So for this example, I'm going to go to waypoint 52. Waypoint 51, we have position fixing on one is a lighthouse, one is a beacon. I'm going to do position fixing on waypoint 52. You'll see here I've got parallel indexing for waypoint 52, but I'm going to add further information on waypoint 52. So I'm going to go down to waypoint 52. And by going into it, I'm going to add a position reference. So for a start, it'll take us to waypoint 52. And all I need to do to add a position reference is click on the chart for an object that I wish to reference from. So this is Helisoy Lighthouse for one, and there's a pile here, which is the same as the previous waypoint 51, but we're now at a different angle. So I'm going to use this Bolaflessa. And that is now attached into the document or into the waypoint. And when we go back through to the document, we talked about it being a live and dynamic document. So we can now see that 52 now has the range and bearing for each of the 2 points, the same as 51, which becomes the dynamic document. So we can bring this all the way through. Everything you do outside of the document in waypoints in the route is transferred within the passage plan. You can see here the position fixing method is taken from the guide we gave earlier on. When I say ocean, we're reverting to a single position fixing method. When I'm saying we're in passage, in pilotage, I've got many position fixing methods. Parallel index lines, again, I showed, they appear here. And once they're put in the chart and on the route, they will appear in the passage plan. Obviously, you can put your own comments throughout the document. And the really important part is that you can put comments for your officers throughout and attached to each waypoint. There is a section later on to do a general notes for the entire voyage as well. Page number 4, very importantly, again shows the waypoint by waypoint. Again, talks about the pilotage type and talks about the CATSOG for that for the charts in that area. Talks about how we've set up the chart and the contours for the cartography. Going forward again, we now talk about, again, waypoint by waypoint. We now say what documents, what information has been used and harvested to give you the information for this passage plan. So we show the ENC charts. If there are any temporary or preliminary notices in force, they will be brought through in this section, in column number 4. The Admiralty digital light lists, 1 and 2 have been used here. The digital radio signal area is number 1 for waypoint 1. Digital radio signal 6, area 1 and 2, and so on, through to total tide areas 1 to 4. We found out earlier in the document how up to date those documents were, but again, it's showing you exactly where the information you're using to compile this document has come from and has been harvested from. It says here the nautical publication, the sailing direction NP28, the Dover Straits pilot, has been used. And if there are any nav area warnings, it also talks about who you're reporting to and what channel you will be reporting on. If we go down, you may see, if we look in, there we are, we have a nav area warning which is live, which must be a North Sea nav area warning, which I discussed last time. we go through to the final page, and this is where you put your notes for the voyage. So this becomes your Bible. And again, it's a dynamic document. Once this is approved and working, if there are changes, you will produce a new passage plan, and this will become the new dynamic document. But so this is your Bible to work from, and it becomes simple and effective. Everyone understands what they're looking for. It is a regulated document, and can be, and in most times it is customized per company with the company logo, and therefore becomes part of the company documentation. So with that, I've shown the passage plan, how it relates back to the waypoints of the route that has been produced, how everything that happens within the route is harvested and put straight into the dynamic plan. We will then check it, and then we'll approve the passage plan. And I said I'd relate back the earlier comment of how this joins with Nav Tracker. Once you have an active passage plan in Nav Tracker, you will then revert to the section that Stephen Richard showed perhaps 4 or 5 weeks ago. He demonstrated the passage plan being shown in Nav Tracker if you have a nav box on board. And it also shows, if it's active, how the current vessel, how her voyage is comparing to the active passage plan, which means you have a total reference ashore of being able to pull the document ashore without having to have emails. You're pulling it within one system. And you also have the active display, a geo-reference display that's showing you in real time how the vessel is going along the route. So we have seen passage planning. Now what I'm going to do is pass across to show my colleague, Gauta Fossmark, who will go through the new environmental regulations module. And what that is talking about is easier and safe global regulation management on board. So without any more, I will pass across to Gauta to carry on with his section. Thank you very much for your time.
Hello, thank you, Richard. My name is Gauta Fossmark. I'm a product manager here at NavTOR, and I'll be going through the environmental regulations part with you. This part is made together in cooperation with a company called TMS, Total Marine Solutions, which are the one harvesting all of this data. They have a team of quite a lot of people, always trying to find new regulations and update all of the international regulations, national ports, and so on. As Børge told a little bit earlier, they are 4 levels of regulations. It's international, national, regional, and port. So it's quite a lot of work to try to gather all of this information and put it together in a database, which we are using. Also, the TMS are also vetting all of these regulations by a third-party law firm to see that we have a correct comprehension of the regulations. Okay, then I think we'll just switch to NavStation here, so I can show you how it's done in NavStation. Okay, then I think you can see it. This is the desktop of NavStation, which we have seen earlier. And this is the environmental regulations parts, which will become blue when you activate the service here with us. If we go into this one, it's divided in 3 parts. It's the chart, and also telling you a little bit about the zones, which zones you're in, which zones you are approaching, and also on the left, it's the regulations. And the regulation can be shown simplified like this with all of the categories, or you can also have a detailed regulation. Then you get air emission, and then you get all regulations, which are valid for the point. So you can see here on my chart, then there's an icon for showing a vessel. So if you move this one, then it will also always show the regulations that are valid for your vessel at that location. So that's the first part we have implemented now. So if I move it, you can see in the zones which zone we are in. We're in the Norwegian within the 50 nautical miles, also North Sea Special Area, Northwest European Water Special Area, and also North Sea ECA area. And all of the regulations that are affecting your vessel. So we have all of the dimensions, we have the IMO number of the vessel, so you will only get, and also flag, so you will only get the regulations that are applying to your vessel. So if there are other regulations, it's sorted out. So you can see, and also if you go in here, you can see on the top left here, there's also a filter. This is only for the graphical view. So if I zoom in a little bit, and then we will show all of the ports as well. So you see the blue circles here are ports. So if I turn off port area here, it will only turn off the graphical view. So if I place my vessel here, it will still be within Larvik port. So you get the regulations, but you don't show it if you don't want to show it on the chart. There is also a legend here. So if you go into the legend, you get all the explanation of the different color coding in this section. You can also have settings. You get your Latin long, the course you want to have, and also you can set the speed and also a prediction range to show the zones here. So if I just place it a little bit further out here, you can see here we are approaching zones, Norway 12 nautical mile distance, and also the time to go with the set speed of 50 knots here. I can just show you a little bit, show you on the detail view here. So here you can see it's marked international if the regulation is international, national, regional, and port. So they're marked here, and red are prohibited, yellow are prohibited with the caution, or you need to check. Could be something you need to read the regulation a little bit better and see if it applies for you. And green are allowed. So I'll just show you a couple of examples on quite special regulations which are in this. If you go to a small Finnish port of Kokkola, if I click on this one, you can see here that there are quite a lot of special rules here. So for instance, in Kokkola, if I click on the rule here, I will get up a more detailed description. There's no link to documentation yet. We hope to get that later, but currently it's not. And here you can also see that they need to not prohibited to drain anything, but drains, ballast water, and other outlets shall be covered in this port. So quite a special rule for these ports, which are included here. And you can see this was effective on the 6th of March and also vetted on the 19th in 2019. So here you can see also when it's vetted and when it was effective from. So it takes a little bit of time to pick it up and get it confirmed. So so we think this is a very comprehensive database, and it's also updated via the weekly update every second week. So TMS are constantly finding new rules and regulations, and will add it, and it will update automatically in NavStation every second week. So we have can show another rules, just a second here. For instance, in China, you have some special national rules which we should comply to do in for instance here on the emission. Incineration and dumping of EGCS wash water residues are prohibited in China now, ECA zones. So these are national regulations which we update all the time when we get them. So I think this is basically the environmental regulations. We will keep on developing this together with TMS, and we will add more functions for searching, filtering, and also taking out reports along the route in the coming versions of NavStation. But I think this is already quite a comprehensive database and also a good tool to easily pick up all the rules and regulations from where you are. And I'll be here, so if there are any questions or comments, just fire away on the chats, and we'll take that afterwards. So thank you for me. I think we'll go back to Richard then.
Thank you very much, Gaute. That's very kind. Just a couple of points I've been reminded of. One thing about passage planning, which is really important, and I shouldn't have forgotten it, is of course that you can share a route between your fleet should you have enabled that function, which is very advantageous. If you've got vessels doing the same route, you can share the route. Obviously, not share the passage plan because that's time dependent, but the route is certainly a useful function, and that can be done directly in Nav Station, and you can export the route directly to your colleagues, and you can show who you're exiting to. The other thing I neglected to mention right at the beginning, whilst I was talking about questions, I should have also talked about the resources we have available. So we're going to make resources available at the end of this webinar. And the resources for this webinar will obviously cover the products we've talked about today. So that's environmental regulations and passage planning, but it'll also be including the NavStation brochure full stop. Previous webinars will also be linked to this one, so you can see the series of webinars. So that will give you a full section of the resources available. So moving on from there, I'd like to show you just a quick wrap up today. And the wrap up really is the takeaways from today. And the takeaways are that NavStation, what does it give you? Passage planning, it's easier and safe and more efficient passage planning with all of the navigational data at the fingertips of the navigator, which is a point that Børge made right at the beginning. The point about the environmental regulations, of course, is that it's navigating global regulations, and we all know how onerous these can be, with ease and peace of mind to ensure that you can confirm that you've adhered to all of the regulations pertaining to your vessel with class and with flag. So that's really